Hey everybody, it's me, Tracy Pinkhaven Mebin, and welcome to our first ever Entrepreneur Pinks and Blues show. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is a new project that I have that is near and dear to my heart. I hope that you enjoy it. Just to give you a little background, Entrepreneur Pinks and Blues is about the entrepreneur mindset. It's about discussing the highs being the pinks and the blues being the lows of an entrepreneur lifestyle. It is not just a job, but it's encompassing a whole lifestyle. We're talking your physical, your emotional, your psychological, as well as your financial and your personal and your spiritual. So this is everything to do with it. I will be interviewing entrepreneurs from all areas of entrepreneurship, not just the regular real estate people or the regular guy that just has a job in real estate, or let's say in construction, because that's my field. I will actually step outside of my comfort zone and I will interview people in all areas. And by the way, if you feel like you want to be interviewed for my show, feel free to contact me. I would love to talk to you about what it's like, what were your highs and your lows, will be your pinks and your blues, starting your business, being in the business, what you're facing right now. Maybe we can get some feedback from the audience on how to fix some of these problems. But anyway, guys, I'm so excited. A big hug. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. Bye. I'm going to introduce to you today my apple carrot ginger juice. And things first, before we start cooking, got to pull this hair back and have to wash our hands. One of the things that I am an advocate of is treating your body great and doing things that are naturally beneficial to your body. As you can see here, I cored 1 apple, peeled 2 carrots, and took 1 chunk of ginger, and I put them all in the juicer. And there you have it, my apple carrot ginger juice. Good. Cheers. Hey everybody, and welcome. Let me introduce our first guest. Is Mrs. Debbie Medina, and she is an entrepreneur in her own rights. She is a real estate developer, and she is a mentor, a guest speaker at many events, and she is experienced, professional. She's a mom and a wife, and she does all things perfectly. She's very organized, and when I grow up, I aspired to be Mrs. Debbie. So anyway, this is my sister in real estate, and I'm so happy to have you here, Debbie, and thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You summed it up really good, and you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, well, everybody, we're going to talk about Debbie's Entrepreneur Pinks and Blues. She's going to give us a couple of tips and some stories, maybe some good juicy blues stories, some bad things or pitfalls to stay away from when you're growing your business as an entrepreneur. And so Debbie, let's go. So why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself?
I'm Debbie Medina, originally from New York, and I moved to North Carolina about 10 years ago. I've been in the real estate industry for over 20 years.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. So when I first started, my son was 1 year old, exactly 1 year, just about a little bit over 1 year old when I started. I was working a full-time job, working 80 hours a week, director in a nonprofit organization, and just got tired of going in every day, working weekends and nights.
Yeah, I get it.
I had 500 staff. I mean, it was just so much. And I had a newborn. And I begged my husband for a whole year to let me stop working. It took a year. And finally, one day he gave in and said, okay, you could stop. And I walked into work and put in a notice, and they asked me what was I going to do, and I said I didn't know, but I was not going to be working here anymore.
And there you have it. This is the perfect thing. This is a perfect example of what an entrepreneur spirit is like. You can't help it. You know that cookie cutter on the hamster on a wheel type day-to-day activity is not for you. Something inside of you lets you know that if I step out on my own and trust in myself with my abilities, that I can create my own income. And that's exactly what you did. That's wow. Right. I didn't even know that. I'm learning something new too. So, okay. So that was definitely a pink, the start of your life as an entrepreneur and everything. Okay. So why don't you tell me about when you left your basic 9-to-5 job? Well, it wasn't 9-to-5 because they were actually overworking you. Probably had you on salary where you weren't even getting the hours in. Exactly. So this is some of the things that you face also as an entrepreneur, where you have these bigger than life abilities to do multiple things, and the company will put that type of responsibility on you because you keep things going, but then not pay you. They put you on salary, and so there's a cap on how much you can make, and that's not for us people. We don't do that anyway. So go ahead, Debbie. So go ahead and tell me, what was the first thing you started doing in real estate? Oh, and before you get started, make sure you tell us your pink and your blue, your high and your low, when you tell me this story, because I know there's some kind of tea to be poured in this story. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, in the real estate, and I guess because I always had an entrepreneur spirit, although I didn't come from a family that was entrepreneurs.
Right.
I had an entrepreneur spirit for a long time. I don't know why. I had a burning desire to be an entrepreneur. When I was in college, worked 3 jobs. I had a business. I mean, just getting through that. So when I had my son, I realized I wanted more freedom to be able to flexibility to do what I wanted to do, travel and things. And I couldn't do that working a full-time job. And my son, was kind of my motivation to say, hey, let's do something. So I went and got took my real estate test, passed on the first try.
Okay, that's unheard of, but we're going to leave that alone because she always got to be the superstar. This is where she is, and this is where we're trying to get to. But it's all right. Go ahead, I'm listening. It took me like 2 times, but we all right. Go ahead, I'm not telling
you. And then, we said we want to do some real estate investing. So from January of 2000 to March 2000, I sat home for 2 months. But I didn't sit home. I mean, we traveled and we did things, but I was not working.
Okay.
And then, I'm a worker. So to sit home,
right.
I mean, we went on vacation. We went to Trinidad to Carnival.
Right.
We had a good time. But just in between, sitting home every day, and I was like, this is not for me. What can I do? I got to get my license, and I kept getting notices and being recruited by different agencies. And I was recruited by one of the largest agencies in Virginia. And I said, okay, I think I'll go ahead and go in the office. Maybe I'll do some real estate, find some houses we can invest in. That's kind of what my mentality was.
So even then you weren't thinking, oh, I'm just going to be a basic real estate agent and just finding clients and buying this on house. Even then you were seeing the big picture of investing and growing a portfolio in real estate for you and your company.
Yes.
And the company hadn't even been established yet.
Well, the big company was, but my company necessarily was not.
I got you.
Right. But I did open my own, own LLC and to kind of incorporate what I was doing as real estate. And when I went in the office, I signed up and went in the office. I went in the office every day like I was working a full-time job. And at the time, most agents didn't do that. They came in and out, got what they needed and left. But we used to have a listing board. So it shows you the listings. And then back in the day, it had the MLS books.
Right, I remember that.
So you didn't have internet and stuff. You had the computer, but people weren't doing searches at home. So I was listening to the agents because I really didn't have a mentor. And I was just listening, hearing what they were saying. And someone would say, well, I don't really want those houses. Those are like not houses I really want.
What do they call them? The garbage can houses.
Right, the garbage can houses. And I said, oh, I'll take them. And they're looking at me like, she must be crazy.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to learn this business. Nobody's helping me. I'm going to figure this out.
Right.
So I would take the listings they didn't want.
Tell me what happened with that.
So with those listings, I end up having all these clients that would call because they were investment properties. And then I would buy some of them myself too. And then, they were like, I would have listings like $19,000 bank foreclosures, and they didn't want them because they said, no,
right, there's no commission.
There's no commission in that. But they didn't look at the long-term picture. And I did, because those clients bought 4, 5, 6 houses. Those clients bought their own home, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses.
Right. And not only that, when they fixed up the house.
Yes.
You were the listing agent for the resale.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
And that's, what year was that?
That was in 2000.
See, and that's even before it was hot. Like right now, we are saturated with all of that. But back then, I mean, so you were really making a name for yourself.
So the first year, I sold 100 houses. And I had no team. It was just me. And I was $1 million producer plus, and they would always have me on the newspaper. And I was like, oh, that's nice and all, but I still had a burning desire that I wanted to do something for myself. So we went out and started buying some of the houses ourselves and started fixing up and doing, renovations. And we would have my mom and my godmother, my husband, we would be painting and fixing and putting houses.
That's how you start. That's equivalent to starting Microsoft in the garage.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right,
this is how you start. You get the fair. I had my boys, I had my kids, my 2 sons. They used to get so mad at how I worked them for free, but they had a room, board, and food that to me is not free. So, but that was their payment. But they really, I understand. That's how you start.
Right. And then and then switching over and trying to transition from real estate agent to the real estate investor side, I was able to balance the both and be able to buy properties. And, banks were giving money away like crazy back then as well. And I was able to make a name for myself, and I started, having so many people that I built a team.
Right.
So I started getting more agents and having buyer's agents. I had a transaction coordinator. So in my office, I started having 4 and 5 other agents working for me within the business.
Right.
And then about 2005, I was like, oh, I want to do something exciting. Real exciting. I'm just that person. Right. I don't do nothing small.
So you were already, you hit the ceiling. I hit the ceiling what that had to offer, and you're right of that particular, in that space or that time of being within that company, that real estate firm. But then you were like, I can go bigger than this. Right. Wow.
So in my mind, I didn't have the desire to have my own company.
Right.
For real estate, because of the liability and things, but I had the desire to expand what I can do.
Okay.
So not only I knew I had the agents, so I started thinking about residual income. I said, well, how can I do this repetitively that I know that if I don't close anything, at least I know I got money coming in.
Right, because that's a big problem with being a real estate agent. Sometimes a real estate agent has to wait, 30 to 60 days to see a paycheck.
Exactly.
It's not fun.
Exactly. And, with that, I found an opportunity where I could do real estate, mortgages, financial services, train people, travel all over the world in one.
Oh my God. That is so awesome.
And between 2003, I started transitioning. About 2005, I kind of really made that decision. And my husband left his job. So we started working the business together.
Well, I tried to tell y'all. I wasn't bringing you those clouds. I was bringing you the real thing. I said I wanted our first show. We gonna show off, but keep talking. I'm listening. I get goosebumps all over listening. So go ahead.
So we kind of semi-retired him, and we worked the business together. And mind you, now at that time I had my son, and then I ended up having another child, and my daughter. I was like literally in the delivery room negotiating deals while I was pushing the
So
baby.
let me ask you, is that a pink or a blue?
That's a pink for me. It may be a blue for someone else. I was in there pushing. Look there, get off the phone. We're having a baby and you're on the phone. And I think I had that little bag phone, maybe.
Yeah. From back in the day. Remember that? There's a real phone.
Yeah. And it was like, get off the phone. The baby's coming. And I think less than 2 weeks, I was in the car with her. We were riding around working, But to say that I just had the yearning, desire, motivation, my husband saw it and he got on board and we went all over training and traveling.
So right there, that's so important. That's a problem with a lot of entrepreneurs or people who are starting their own business, the support of their family. I actually had someone call in and speak about that. It is so important to have the people that you live with support you in what you're trying to build. Otherwise, it can create a disaster. Seriously. So that's a high right there. That's an excellent pink. You were so blessed to have that.
And if I didn't, it would have been hard.
Right.
It would have been a struggle.
Right.
Unless he just kept working and I leave him home with the kids and I would keep going.
Right.
But yeah, it does become a challenge because if your partner's not on board with you, how do you become successful because you don't have anybody, one, to motivate you, or two, there's no support. And if you don't have the support, how do you continue? And a lot of people struggle, like you said, struggle with that. But I did have a support system. I had a village.
Right. See that?
I had a village.
Yeah.
So not only my husband, when we were traveling, we had grandma, we had the babysitter who became auntie, we had so we had a village. So we always had a support system, which is not, and I tell people, you got to build that support system.
Right.
And if you don't build that support system, you're going to struggle with anything. I mean, you could still do it, but it's not going to be as easy.
Right.
Right. And I'm not saying that it was easy because there were blues.
Right, but it definitely makes it easier.
Right.
And because you know that you're not by yourself. You know that the children are still being taken care of. You have your personal life and your personal finances, and then you have your business life and your business finances. As an entrepreneur, those things are completely combined because you're creating the income to feed your family.
Right.
So that all needs to be meshed together perfectly in order to make it work and to grow, because hitting a brick wall with that would have actually kept you from growing because you would have had to put your energy on keeping things together at home.
Right.
So together you two were able to keep things together at home and in business. That's pretty awesome. I'm not... what I wouldn't give. Go ahead.
Right. So with that being said, we had a good stint. And I said good stint because we made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be able to measure out where those finances are going to go for a rainy day.
Right.
But then we didn't, I wasn't raised in a situation where we had family members that were entrepreneurs.
Right.
So we got lots of money. We spent lots of money, right?
That's the way.
So could you think mindset. That the money's coming in next month, the money's coming in. Yes. You're going to keep spending and spending. So the blues is that if you don't put that money aside,
right,
and you have a bad rainy day and you can't go in the emergency fund, then you're screwed. So, we were balancing out. And, I always had in the back of my mind how my mom used to say, if you just gave me this amount of money, you would have millions of dollars in the bank. And I was more about, okay, we're going to spend it. We're going to enjoy our life. We're going to travel.
Right.
Because I didn't have nobody to say, really, put it away for a rainy day, because I saw that I was going to just keep going and the train was going to keep riding.
And then there are always so many opportunities, and then there's always so many ideas. So you assume that it's always going to be able to flow. But that is, and right there, that's a blue. And I don't know how to stress that when you're creating your income and the well dries up, or the resource that you're using, or the resource that you have in order to feed your idea dries up, and then you have to focus on their rainy day and how to make it through your rainy day. And I can tell, well, I know from you now that you made it through your rainy day and actually did even better.
Right. Because you learned from the first time what not to do the second time, right?
And if you ain't learning, you know,
exactly.
find a job. That's all I'm saying.
And the successful millionaires will keep doing it, failing and failing until they get it right and be successful, right? So you got to always, you may hit some walls, but you got to get back up. You hit the wall, you can get back up. Hit the wall, get back up till you get it right, right? And once you learn that, then you'll make that pathway to say, hey, this really works, because I'm either doing a repetitive cycle of what other people are doing and I'm making sure that I'm following that, or you're not going to go back to those mistakes, that you're going to do the things right. And I think that that crash in 2008 was a wake-up call for everybody.
Yeah,
because I think that's where the pitfall hit. That's where the blues hit, when everything was shut down. I mean, we had 1,500 agents. I didn't even have to sell real estate anymore, because I had all the agents and mortgage brokers working under us. Right. So when they closed, we got a check. When they closed, the check would come in. We were just getting checks from everywhere. Right. But when it shut down, the check stopped, right? Right. So the little bit of nest egg that we sold off properties and had, was like, oh, we're just so burnt out. We don't think we want to do this real estate thing again, because it took the wind out of us when you're making that kind of money, and then you're supporting family, people, you're giving money to pay people's mortgages. Let me tell you, and that okay. So we're gonna stop right here, because we're gonna talk about this blue right here. Because you know me, I'm gonna talk to you about the truth about it. I'm not trying to come in here and give you the another network where it's all like flowers and daisies and big money and everybody looks. No, let's talk about the grimy part of being an entrepreneur, and how when you're big and you're making that money and the money is flowing, you have all the friends, but it's very much like being a celebrity. Right. You got all the people that you helping them out. You're buying school clothes. You're buying G.I. Joe with the action grip for somebody's Christmas. You're feeding them. You're paying mortgages. You're paying tuition. You're doing all this stuff. And then the money dries up and the phone stops ringing and the friends stop coming, and not near person, not near one of you got $1 to help put something on the table that you ate from all those years. And so with that being said, that is a blue, that is a pitfall, that is pay attention to that. Stack your money. As a matter of fact, don't tell people how much money you have. Exactly. Keep it a secret. Don't ride around in the fanciest car and the most expensive car. Well, she always looked like money, so stop talking about exactly. She always looks like she be pulling up looking like a super top star model all the time, and I be looking all bumpy. I was like, whatever. So, but but that's her natural ability. So we're gonna leave that one alone. But make sure that you're smart about telling people where you are, telling people what you have, showing off, because the bigger the noise that you make, hey, I got money, I'm being so successful, the more the leeches are going to come, and they're going to suck you dry. There's no other way to put it. I know that sounds kind of nasty, but that's what we're dealing with. So, okay. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it in a nutshell. Because when you're lows, those who going to ride what you're going to ride. Right. And when your highs are highs, you're going to have to weed out the ones that ain't good for you. That is so true. That ain't good for you. And they're not. And that, that was a wake-up call. 2008, it's kind of like, okay, so what do? We had a little bit of money left. We decided to open a restaurant. The hardest business in the world. I told people, I said, if you want to know what it really takes to drain a relationship, finances, everything, mentally, everything. Yes. It's to open a restaurant, and then we're opening it during this whole. You almost say it's like a depression, because it was in a way. It was, but everybody's losing everybody's living in their homes, losing their homes and everything. And then we're doing this, and the restaurant did well. As far as people coming in, and we had activity, and we were able to sustain, but the long hours, the stress of being married. I mean, at that point, it was like, okay, what do you do? We got to hit the road, Jack, or do change because something's going to break.
Right.
Something, your emotions and everything tied. Because we said we were so burnt out. Felt so burnt from the real estate.
Right.
Kind of blindsided.
And then you go and take on something that's even harder.
Right. That's even harder. And we didn't know because we were like,
you don't. And that's one of the things.
Right.
When an entrepreneur, you have the idea of how it's supposed to work. You look at the numbers and you see that the numbers work. They make sense. And then you turn around and you live it. You really get into it. It becomes a whole lifestyle. Yes. You say, holy.
Right. And the thing about being in the restaurant business, if you're not the owner, you don't understand the concept of the business.
Right.
I tell people when they want to open a restaurant, don't talk to the manager.
Mm-hmm.
You need to talk to the owner
to
see what the real deal is, because the owner's the one going to tell you this one's stealing from me. My food's going out in the trash bag, that them steaks that I bought,
because they're looking at that spreadsheet and they're seeing the losses, and they're looking at the spreadsheet, they're seeing the turnover of the employees. So
so you got, and then you want to, at the end of the night they want the tips. You got to pay them their money. If you don't have money coming in, you still got to pay it. So you got to look at the big picture. People say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Do your research, investigate, follow through. Follow people who've been there and who are successful, because those people are going to tell you these were the pitfalls and this is what I learned from it, and that for you not to do. And that's what I do now, right?
Like with the mentor.
With our mentorship. That I teach people not to make the rookie mistakes that I made.
Right.
And that's the whole purpose of giving back and showing people, don't do the same thing I did. You could be successful in this business if you follow these steps, but don't do what I did, because if you do what I did, you're going to fall and then you're not going to come back.
Exactly. And this is one of the things that you said. When we were coming up, our parents were transitioning over from menial labor into actual positions, city jobs, state jobs, actual professional positions. So getting a job with a paycheck that paid well was the goal. But then we come along and we have another level of opportunity available to us, but there's no blueprint to follow. We are literally creating the blueprint on how to be an entrepreneur and taking risks with no resources, with no one to tell us anything. I mean, our parents weren't in boardrooms. We weren't just honestly on golf courses and making deals, playing racquetball. We were seriously going to public school and college, and just trying to network and make friends and figure it all out on our own. And so what Debbie is doing now is, because she's getting the next set of people, entrepreneurs, the next set of real estate developers, the next set of wholesalers, the next set of anyone who wants to know something about real estate ready. But this time what she's doing is providing a blueprint, an ear to listen to it, and a heart to feel your pain. And then also some resources so you can get started, and resources where if you hit a snag, you have someone who knows about it that you can talk to, and they can help you come up with a solution to the problem. So why don't do you want to go ahead and get into your mentorship program, or we could say that for next time? It's up to you.
Well, I will say that, let me go back to a point, and then I'll bring that up.
Okay.
You talked about parents. One good thing, I did have a mother who, one, was a praying mom, but also was willing to be there for me regardless of my pitfalls, right? Because some parents are not like that, right? You get support, and I'm supportive of my kids like that too. So even though I wanted to do these things, she would say, give a little caution, but she also was there as a support system, right? So that's why I talk about, having that support system, because when you fall, you got to have somebody that you can bounce off, and you can feel that support system and say, I failed. No, you didn't fail. You just have to start over again. I tell people it's just like a reset. It's just like a reset button, right? It's you hit the reset button.
Yes.
You hit the reset button, you start over, and then you do it again. And this time you do it without those mistakes. So don't feel because you're starting a business and you feel like you failed. That's the end of it. It may be some things you can tweak and change that can make it better. And that's what I do with the mentorship program.
Mm-hmm.
Is to provide people an opportunity to go through their goals. They say, hey, I want to do this and I want to do that, but how are we going to get there?
Right.
And where are you going to get the resource to do it? And in our community, we don't have people that teach us and tell us where we get resources from, because that's kind of the key to the success. I mean, I can give you all the tools in the world, but if you don't have the financial resources to make it happen, then it's not going to happen all the time, right? It may happen once in a blue moon because you'll get lucky, but that's where the mentorship comes in, because I've connected with a lot of people to help folks, no matter what, their situation is financially, to be able to launch their real estate career in a way that can give them some kind of financial freedom.
And you don't just have one resource or two resources.
No.
You have a plethora. I don't even know where that word came from. Honestly, I know that's a real word, right? Okay. Of resources that people can use, and financial resources, not just someone to talk to that's going to tell you do this and do that, but actually be able to help you fill out the paperwork and get it done.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. Right.
That is so.
Right.
I don't know. So what is it? It's unheard of. This is the first time that I am hearing about someone that is actually providing that for anyone, or is it not anyone, but people who are really interested in building this type of business.
Right. And I think that's the key to success, to blend the two together. I've had people say, oh, I don't need a mentor. I just need somebody to give me something.
No. Right. That's a lie, because
I just want somebody to give it to me. Well, you're not going to learn just by me giving it to you. So why should I give up my resources to you?
They don't want to learn. Right. They want to do. And it's like, I think I use this scenario all the time with my son. I say, if someone told you to go in there and do some heart surgery, do a cardiovascular operation, would you be able to do it? And he was like, no. And I said, because it's something that you would have to go to school for and practice and be mentored and do intern. And the process is very long, because when you step into doing something new, something specific, something you have to have people around you that are going to guide you, that are going to tell you no and yes, right? Help you take your idea and form it. Because a lot of times we have these I am a visionary. I have this big idea, invention, and then someone like Debbie comes along. This is our relationship now, and it breaks it down so that it becomes more realistic, more doable on a day-to-day basis. Whether the task and structure this idea so that it is productive, that it is prosperous, and that's the problem with when you're starting out and you don't have a mentor. Right. So, okay.
Right. So no matter what business you are, you should always have a mentor, coach, something, find somebody. And I think people have it so easy today. And I say that because of the internet.
Right.
We didn't have the internet. You was pulling straws on
social media.
That's it.
I think I typed in on social media, I need something, and I 35 answers, and I just made some phone calls. Right. And I never, when we were growing up, our social media was the gossip.
Right. So you think about it. Social media has created all these entrepreneurs.
Right.
They don't know how great they have it.
Right.
And they need to make sure they hold on to it.
Right.
Because if something happens with social media, right, what's going to happen to your money? What's going to happen to your money?
Didn't Facebook or something shut down for?
Well, they said they were going to change the name, and they were going to make some tweaks, and
they shut it down for like a day or something.
Yeah, something happened for half a day. And the people for the business, the people who were looking for that money from the sales missed out because their advertising didn't show on Facebook.
Right. Wow, you see that?
So that's kind of the wake up call to say to you, if I don't have multiple streams of income and I'm relying on social media only, how can I build that platform so when social media goes away,
there you go,
how I'm going to sustain and still make the money that I want to do to live a financial free life?
And that's with everything on your multiple streams of income.
Yes.
Have your multiple streams of resources.
Yes.
You can't just focus and depend on one resource because it happened in 2008.
Yep.
It can happen now.
And with the pandemic.
It happened for, I forgot. How did I forget COVID?
That's it.
I love being in the house for 3 months by myself. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, some people gained and some people made money.
Yeah.
But just think of it. Your platform goes away. Where you go next?
Right. What do you do?
So you have to reinvent yourself. So I had to reinvent myself, to be able to go back after we closed the restaurant, moved to North Carolina, take a deep breath and figure out, what works or what we want to do. And we realized that real estate we made money in. So that's what we went back to. And we said that was good for us and that worked for us, right? So what I'm saying for any entrepreneur, do what works for you, but don't reinvent the wheel if it's already existing, right? Because there's enough out there for everybody. And if you know that you want to get into any kind of business, research that business, talk to people. Don't overanalyze or overthink, because you have some of those people too who overanalyze, overthink, and never hit the button.
Whatever.
And never hit the button.
I'm not
never hit the button. But
she said to get that one in. That's a little.
Never hit the button. But you do your research, find out, the person that's been successful. Not the person flashing the cars, because I can lease a car,
right,
and have to give it back to them in 2 years or whatever. So don't worry about the person that's leasing. They live in a good house and a house. You don't know what their situation is, so don't look at that.
Tell them the truth.
They may be living in nice cars and nice houses and have nothing in the bank. So don't look at that. So when you're an entrepreneur, you really gotta, figure out what your niche is, right? Also, you got to figure out, who I'm going to be mentored and coached by. And then third, you got to think about, where my finances are going to lie. If you're going to go do this full time, how are you going to pay your bills?
Let's talk about that, because we already know.
How are you going to pay your bills if you become a full time and you have no husband at home?
Right.
And it's just you. You're a single parent.
Right.
Raising a child that's maybe going to private school, whatever.
Right.
How are you going to get that monthly income coming in?
Did you read my resume?
Wait a minute. No, I didn't.
Why are you saying all the things that happened to me? Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't.
I swear to God. I'm like,
no, you didn't.
That's blowing out all my stuff.
No,
but honestly speaking, what she's saying is the truth. When this is your livelihood, and remember what I said earlier, that creating this income, what's business for some people is just business, and then they clock out and go home and they still got a paycheck, whatever, is not just business for an entrepreneur. It is personal, because that business is creating the income to feed your family, to keep the lights on, to pay your mortgage. And I can't stress it enough that that's so important. How do you avoid that pitfall? Because that's a blue,
right?
That's a blue.
And I tell people, especially people who want to get into real estate they say, "Oh, I'm going to quit my job and go to real estate full time." And I say to them, "Okay, look at your finances and look at your bills, and if you got to pay $2,000 a month in bills, times that by 12, that's $24,000. Do you have at least $24,000 to $40,000 sitting in the bank that you can live off of until you build that business?" And
that's,
if a
lot of people do not,
right? So I say to them, don't quit your job. And say, well, how do I balance both? If you in your spirit want to be an entrepreneur, you got to work that business like it's no other business, that you're not working for your employer, you're working for yourself. So if it means that you're working 12 hours for yourself, 8 hours for your job, You got 4 hours of sleep at night.
That's it.
And that's all you got.
This is the reality of it. Like it is not like, all fluff and looking cute. And I mean, there's times when you're so up and high and things are going so well and things are flowing that you do get that feeling. But it's kind of like, you're always going to try to get to that point over and over again throughout your entrepreneur career. And that's a hard place to get to over and over again for the period of the rest of your life until you're ready to retire.
Right. And you look at Oprah. Okay, people say things about Oprah, but Oprah had her hands in her network, right? Because she was losing money.
Right.
You as an entrepreneur are going to have your hands, regardless of the team around you. You're still going to have to be aware of what's going on, so you won't lose that money, right? Because she wants to build generational wealth. So you want to know what's going on around you, right? Mm-hmm. So in your mind, you got to say, hey, even though I want to live this life and I want to go on vacation, I don't want to be non-existence of what's going on, because I don't want my business to flop, because a business will flop, you lose your money, right? So you as an entrepreneur have to think, if I'm starting from scratch, I'm working my way up, I'm working a full-time job. Mm-hmm. Now I got to balance my life and my business, because I have kids, husband, who, whatever, right? Maybe bills, right? So I got to balance my life. How many hours are you willing to commit per day on that business so that you can move and transition into that financial wealth where you can go in the job and hand them a notice and say, I'm out.
Right. And then the other side of that is that when you are moving with these long hours and everything is counting on you making this work, actually being successful at it, the stress, the lack of sleep.
Yes.
It is an emotional and psychological toll. And once the person who's in charge of all of this or creating all of this burns out, and it's happened to me,
right?
Who's going to run the business? Who's going to create the income?
Right.
It's not easy to balance this. Right. This is definitely not for the weak.
I was going to say, you got to put your big girl panties on, girl.
Big girl panties on.
Put your big girl panties on, because it takes that balance. I have created a good work-life balance for myself. Mm-hmm. Although sometimes I tend to work a lot, but that's because that's generally my soul. I like,
right. That's your natural.
That's my natural aptitude, how I do things, right? But I know how to play hard,
right,
too.
Right.
So,
and she is fun to play with. I'm just saying.
So, once you get there and you can balance that out, it works. But, for me, waking up early in the morning, I have more time to think. Mm-hmm. I have a clear mind. It's quiet.
A lot of entrepreneurs wake up anywhere between 3 and 5 a.m.
Yes, and see, I'm up at 4:35.
Yeah, that's the middle of the night. See, that's probably why I can't.
And then I have my spiritual moment.
Right, always need that.
Right, and then I do check my emails, go on the computer. I do some stuff from 5 to about 7. Then I go into my health mode.
But that's what I was gonna say. So you right there, you're taking time out for your spirituality.
Yeah,
you're taking time out to kind of clean up whatever came in overnight so that you don't have the anxiety. Exactly. But then you go and you take care of your physical
being. Exactly.
Right. And before you start work.
Right.
So that's a very well-rounded. See, and this is what I mean. Entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. I keep using this word because it is a lifestyle. You can still have a job and run it like it's a lifestyle. Right. Run it where, it's the whole. It encompasses everything about you. It encompasses your physical, your psychological, your financial, your personal, then your work relationship. You have to balance it all. And you have to pay attention to it all, and you have to attend to it all. Because you can look at something and go, oh, I need to work out. But now, if you don't work out, there's no sense in saying, okay, I'm paying attention to the fact that I need to work out. The act of working out, getting up, being disciplined, and doing it every day, because that takes the stress off of you. That keeps your blood pressure down. That keeps you from being diabetic. I mean, seriously, because
Right.
stress will make you, that keeps your gut from
Yeah.
being fat. So, you want to do that, and be able to consistently do it. And that's
Right.
one of the things about you. You're consistent.
I try
The
to be.
discipline is,
I
yeah,
try to be.
but I don't know the other part, because every time I talk to you, she's like, I've done more in by 5 o'clock a.m. than you've done all day. It's like, but I'm working on it though. I mean, it is definitely good to have iron sharpens iron. It is definitely good to have people around you that are doing, even if you're not doing it, you're doing, not the type of person. No, let me just clear that up. What you don't want is someone who is consistently trying to stay on target, and then someone comes along and they are not consistently trying to stay on target, but they admire it, and then they pull that other person down. They dump on them, they're crying, they want it. They do not execute the advice that they're given and things like that. That's what you don't want. What you do want is, if you want to be at that level, you find someone at that level and then work hard to get there, not dragging them down, not holding them hostage with your little crybaby stories and stuff like that, but actually working hard and showing them, hey, you're not wasting your time. You're actually putting energy into someone that is going to make you proud, someone that is going to eventually be able to assist you and help you in what you're doing, and be on your level. So this is the whole, I hope I didn't get off track,
You
but this is the
good. You're
whole
good.
this is the whole point of finding people like Debbie, finding people like, I'm gonna put myself in this thing. I'm not her, because I ain't getting up at 5 in the morning. Okay, that's not happening. But I get up at 5 in the morning to drink some water, and then look around the house, because I always think somebody's in here. But I'm going back to bed. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you have the right mindset when you're looking for your mentor. That you're not going to drain them. That you're not going to take the resource and what they're pouring into you for granted, and you actually live up to what you're asking them to do, which is bring you to a next level. So this is some good stuff. Like, this is a really, I want to say bomb as interviewed, but it is. Let's be honest, because she's telling you, she's dropping some jewels for you people. So I hope you are listening and taking it seriously. I'm not gonna say take notes like we in church. They have to tell you take notes, but I am gonna say, make some mental notes and find you a mentor. Okay, Debbie. So you've been able to give me the highs and the lows, the pitfalls, give me a bunch of information on yourself. And before we wrap this up, tell me just if you were to give one piece of advice to people who are thinking about it or already in it, what would it be?
As an entrepreneur,
Yes,
I say just give it your all.
you're all.
You got to give it your all. You got to be in 120, 130, 300%. If you're not, then don't do it. Don't do it.
Mm,
Don't do it.
that's
If you're
good.
not willing to make the commitment to go over the top,
Right.
don't do it.
Wow. You hear that? If you're not willing to make the commitment to go over the top, don't do it. That's some good stuff. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening. Debbie, thank you so
You're
much for
welcome.
being
Thank you for
here.
having me here.
And I will see you guys later.